we are going to start chapter 30, Tom's Progress. Here we see how Tom transforms into a real king from the pauper of awful court. If we take a look at the summary, we see Tom enjoys his royal life. Here, Humphrey Marlowe, the whipping boy, gives him a good support. So we see Tom's transformation into an ideal king that is leading an extravagant life and spending a huge amount of money on his comfort. However, he is becoming a merciful and compassionate king, and he is fighting against the unjust laws in England. He gets a lot of challenges. He learns to face the challenges like a king. He knows how to manipulate his power. Once he is able to use his royal power to subvert the power of Lady Mary, who was accusing him about his merciful ruling. In the meantime, we see many corruptions inside of his character, and at the end of the chapter we see a nice juxtaposition between the lifestyle of the true king and the false king, Tom Canty. Chapter starts with a juxtaposition or comparison between the situation of life between the actual king and the Tom. We see that Tom has become a confident king. He knows how to manipulate power. He is confident about the taste of power. As it is in the book, he lost his fears, his embarrassments departed, and gave place to an easy and confident bearing. He worked the whipping boy mind to ever increase in profit. So we see his real character is covered by the royal character. Sometimes we feel that he misusing this royal power, because whenever he wants, he summons Lady Elizabeth and Lady Jane, and when he wants, he dismisses them, and he does this without any hesitation. He knows nobody is to accuse him, nobody is to overpower him. He sees the real royal power and he tastes it, he enjoys it. So this shows in a way the nature of powers. Unlimited power leads corruption. We see that Tom's mind is in a way somewhat corrupted because of the taste of power. He doesn't care about other people's feelings. So this shows he has become somewhat selfish and self-centered. We see a huge transformation in his attitudinal behavior. At the beginning he disliked the ceremonial time-consuming process of dressing and dining and everything. Now he seems to have developed an interest and taste about this thing, and he actually enjoys this kind of royal treatment, and he enjoys the life as a king. He has doubled the amount of his royal guards, and he seems to be transforming to a person like late King Henry, who spent extravagant amount on these servants and his comforts. Because of that, his royal coffers were empty at the end of his reign. At the royal council and at the royal matters also, he is showing a very good development. He is no more working like the mouthpiece of the Lord Protector. He finds it easy and comfortable with commanding and discussing with royal ambassadors and everything. He extravagantly spent money to develop his character. As we see in the book, he enjoyed his splendid clothes and ordered more. He found his 400 servants too few for his prosperous grandeur and tripled them. So we see he is working against his own interests, which he was complaining about. At the beginning of the story, we see he is complaining about these unnecessary expenses and unnecessary amount of servants. Now he does the same thing. However, he makes a tireless work upon unjust laws. So he plays the role of a merciful king. He cares about his countrymen. So this makes him a popular king. So here he behaves with an air of authority. Even he can silence the earls or dukes by even looking at them, because he has built up such a personality of king that trembles even higher officials around him, because of his extravagant care about ceremonies and extravagant care about his clothing and his personality and his manner of commanding and everything. He seems to be developing like an ideal king. It is the character which is expected from the others around him and the citizens. So in a way we can say he has developed to a complete king. Now he has cast away his skin of awful coat, and now there is no Pauper inside this royal figure. We see step by step he is forgetting about his parent, his mother and two sisters, as well as the rightful king. At the beginning he was somewhat guilty about he is acting like the king. Now step by step he has developed the skill of forgetting things. Now he likes to enjoy this royal life. It seems that he doesn't like to give this royal life up. That means he actually enjoys this royal life. So he doesn't like to throw it away. However, this is a demonstration of that he is forgetting and he is becoming somebody who he is actually not. His behaviors portrays that he is becoming selfish and he thinks about his pleasures, and we see he is drunk with power of a king. By and by we see he does not like even to remember about his parent. He feels they are not worthy and they are like worms or insignificant things to him. He sees his true identity is revealed, that would be the end of his royal life. So that seems he is forgetting his roots and he is becoming somebody who actually he is not. In the last chapter we see a wonderful juxtaposition of two characters. One is sleeping comfortably in his royal chamber, then and the other person is suffering outside the castle, hungry and not wearing proper clothes. However, there is a difference between these two characters. One is Edward. Edward, who has developed his experience and he has become a true king. Now he has sharpened his skill as a king because he has seen the outside world and experienced things, and he has royal blood and everything. Now he is complete as a king. Now on the other hand, we see a king who is not actual king, who is a mock king, who has no royal blood and who is seemingly drunk with power and who is being deteriorated, who is being ruined by the royal comforts he gets. So we see this is the time for a change. So let's see what will happen in the next chapter. Chapter 31, the recognition procession. So this recognition procession becomes a situational irony because it was supposed to be to introduce the true king to the public, and in the public he meets his mother. This meeting helps him to understand himself, who really he is. So he recognizes himself and his roots. That becomes a huge twist and downfall to his royal character. If you look at the summary, it is the coronation pride to recognize the king to the common masses. So the procession reaches to the awful court, and there he meets his mother, but he refuses to accept her as the mother. So Tom becomes guilty about his action, and he reveals that that was his mother to Lord Hertford. And the Lords think that king has gone mad again. So at the beginning of the chapter we see the city has transformed to an exhibition of celebration because the king is going to be coronated. So Mark Twain uses his wonderful use of words with full of imageries to show this extravagant event. He makes the event close to the reader with his style of writing with vivid imagery. So this newly transformed king is very comfortable in his character. He acts in a very charming and very pleasant way towards his citizen. He is a very pleasant sight to the citizens. We see he is drunk with power and majestic nature of this royal life. As we see it in the text, he felt that the one thing worth living for in this world was to be a king and a nation's idol. So when he is close to awful court, he is itching to show himself, to show what he has become. He submits his idea because if he does so, that would create a huge problem. We see that crowd see that the king enjoys their welcome. Because of that, they are very happy. But don't forget one thing, these every celebration, every praisings and everything are for the king, and he is not the rightful king. Tom seems to be forgetting these things, and he thinks these every celebrations and these every praisings are only for me. If we see it in the text, and all these wonders and these marvels are to welcome me, murmured Tom Canty. So we see he is intoxicated with this public cheering and the feeling of the royal taste. Suddenly among the crowd he sees his mother and he shows his usual gesture when he gets excited. That is palm outward gesture. So mother sees this and she promptly recognizes him. Involuntarily his mouth opens and he says the words, "I don't know you, woman." So this shows that he has become somebody he is not. He doesn't like to give up his royal self. So his royal self and royal pride speaks here. So at the same time, his heart is awoken. So his heart started hitting his brain, and he is worried, as in the text, that shame fell upon him which consumed his pride to ashes and withered his stolen royalty. His grandeur was stricken valueless. They seemed to fall away from him like rotten rags. So this incident makes him awoken, makes him awake from his royal dream. He is smashed into the ground from the heaven because he was living in a dreamy world, and this meeting reminded him who he really is. So suddenly the happy prince becomes silenced because his heart is complaining about his misbehavior he has done to his own mother. He feels that his own voice echoing inside in his ears. That is, "I don't know you, woman." Lord Hertford notices this change very quickly, so he acts to restore the situation. So he acts like a robot. That means he lost his previous happiness and enjoyable appearance. But the crowd hardly notices this change. This is like the reality in the world. People do not see the person but his gestures. Similarly, they don't see the person but the richness and grandness of the outfits or the royal clothes. The Duke is accusing the poor woman, calling her a crazy pauper who ruined the mood of the king. He asks a soldier to find her and arrest her. By hearing that, the king could not hide the truth anymore, so he reveals that was his mother. But Lord Hertford thinks that king has gone mad again. The irony in that situation is he has overcome his fantasy and come into the reality. But the outer world sees this reality, and the truthful nature is something like madness. So this chapter is very important because at the verge of the coronation ceremony, the false king's fantasy is broken down by meeting of his mother. His glass royal veil is shattered in front of his very eyes. Now he sees the reality that he is not a true king. So let's move to chapter 32, Coronation Day. This chapter is very important in the sense because this is the chapter we find the climax of the story. So we again see the intervention of the writer here. Mark Twain takes the reader behind the scene most of the glamorous occasions. He takes the reader to experience the grandeur of this occasion, and he shows how people of every walk of life and every walk of stages and every walk of layers come to experience this once in a blue moon event. So in the next page we meet another symbol of power, that is the stone of scorn. This stone of scorn is symbol of power because there is a custom that every king should be coronated on this rock plate. So it has a history of a legend. It has tasted all the powerful kings on their coronation day. This stone is further introduced as stone of destiny. So this custom was ended in 1926. In the next page we see a wonderful imagery used by Mark Twain. He shows the royal representatives as human flowers. a solid acre or such a matter of human flowers, resplendent in variegated colors and frosted like Milky Way with diamonds. That is a very good way of showing the glamorous or majestic nature of their clothings and the event. So when we read through the description of Mark Twain, we feel that we are in the middle of the preparation ceremony, and when we turn our heads here and there, we can see the things in our real life like a video. So that is the wonder of his use of imagery. So it is the time to begin the coronation ceremony. However, we see Tom is in a sort of dilemma. If we read it in the text, as they drew nearer and nearer to completion, Tom Kent grew pale and still paler, and a deep and steadily deepening woe and despondency settled down upon his spirits and upon his remorseful heart. So this shows Tom is engulfed in the feeling of guilt, and he is worried about what he has done. Now he sees he is going to take the throne and the crown of the true prince. So here comes the climax. At the time this archbishop is going to place the crown on the head of Tom, the rightful king appears in the middle of the crowd and commands, I forbid you to set the crown on England upon that forfeited head. I am the king. However, guards fall upon him and try to throw him into the street again. And Tom intervenes and tells that, loose him and forbear, he is the king. So everybody see the similarity between the king and the pauper. So everybody become astonished. Even Lord Protectors, Lord Hertford asked several questions to make sure whether this is the true king. And for those questions, Edward answers clearly without any hesitation. However, Lord Hertford is not satisfied with anything. He asks for proofs to show whether he is the royal prince. But unfortunately, Edward doesn't have any proof to show his royalty. The reason might be the boy is wearing Pauper's clothes and his true words are never heeded. That shows the reality of the world. If you are in very good clothes, if you are in royal clothes, your words are accepted. No matter whether that person tells a lie or a truth. But a pauper in rags tells the truth, it doesn't have a value. So that is the reality. So here comes the great seal to rescue the prince. Because only the true prince knows where the great seal is. Because up to now nobody could recover the great seal. So this is a great time to test who is the true king and who is the false king. So Edward promptly revealed, he normally kept the royal seal hidden in a secret chamber. However, Lord St. John, who went for the great seal, could not find it. So this confusion is going to prolong. Now again the Edward's royalty is in danger. The Lord Hertford is itching to kick the boy out. But again Tom comes for the rescue. He is going to rescue the royal dynasty again. So he helps Prince Edward to remember where he kept the seal. So Edward remembers where he actually kept the seal is. So the seal is recovered. So the riddle is solved. So it is done with the help of Tom. But now Lord Hertford wants Tom to be imprisoned because he has done the treason. But now the true king rigorously stops the attack and reminds the Lord Protector that he is not the Earl or the Lord Protector anymore, because Tom is not the true prince, his royal commands are not valid. Because of that, the Lord Hertford is going to lose his Lord Protector's position. So Lord Hertford is not the Earl or Lord Protector anymore. So on the spot he was demoted into an ordinary Earl by the new king. So at last the way Tom used the great seal to crack the nuts reveals the fact that who is the true king and who is the false king. So if there had been any confusion or doubt, all the confusions were cleared like the clear sky. So royal robes were wrapped around the necks of the king. So he saw all the pauper's clothes, and Pauper's identity was covered by this new robe. That is symbolic, because how the clothes can cover the person's identity. Now he is covered with the royal cloak and a royal robe. He is not the despised pauper anymore. Now he has become the king. That is the main theme of this story. The character is judged by the appearance. So, writer questions how far this factor is reasonable when we look at the two characters of Prince and Pauper. So, there is another factor rising here because at the right time, the mother of Tom appears at the oval court. Had that not been, Tom wouldn't have been acted in the same way. So everything is happening in the proper way because Edward has turned into a good king with his experience, the fate and God also are in his side, I think. So we are moving to the chapter 33, Edward as king. So if you see what is happening in the chapter, Miles Hendon has been robbed. All the money was stolen by a thief and he is looking for the boy, but he could not find it. He is tired and he feels lost. So suddenly he remembers of his friend. He is going to Sir Humphrey Marlowe to restore himself. However, at that time Sir Humphrey Marlowe is dead and the whipping boy recognizes him. So he was brought in front of the king. Let's see what will happen. So at the beginning of the chapter we see all the money possessed by Miles Hendon and was stolen by a thief during the riots. He is looking for Edward and he thinks Edward would have been a laughing stock, so he could easily find him near a laughing crowd. It was not easy. He finds everywhere during the day and the night. He could not find the boy. So he feels desperate and miserable because the only person he cares about in this world is lost and whom he believed also lost. So he feels miserable and lost at the end. So suddenly he remembers Humphrey Marlowe, one of his old friends. So he thinks of meeting him to restart his search. Suddenly the whipping boy sets his eyes upon this stranger and he quickly recognizes this is the person the king is so worried about and searching for. So he takes Miles into a inside chamber of the palace. However, unfortunately, Miles is caught by two guards because his clothes and behavior was suspicious. So they search and find the letter that king gave him at the Hendon Hall. He was quickly summoned in front of the king and he is surprised by seeing the mad boy on the throne. He could not believe his eyes. Because of that he wanted to run a test. Though dangerous, he takes a chair and sits in front of the king. So crowd becomes furious of this indecent and illegal behavior and he is ready to be thrown out of the castle again. So the king stops them and tells that is his right to sit in front of the king because he was given the boon, he was given the reward to sit in front of the king by King Edward himself. So king reveals how Miles Hendon protected him and cared him and how he helped to protect the royal dynasty. So Miles became ashamed because of his earlier conduct and the fact that he never believed the king's words. So now Will is turning into the positive way because Hugh Hendon is also present in the royal chamber and king promptly commands to arrest him and restore Miles' properties. So when it comes to Tom was admired by the king because of the way he ruled the country with mercy and kindness. He and his family was given due respect. His family was to be sheltered at the Christ Hospital where he was first humiliated. So Tom was to be given a greater place in the palace and a special dress because once he was the prince, once he held the position of the king in the palace and he was given a new title and it is called King's Sword. If we speak about John Canty, he was sentenced to death. Right after that one, we never hear about John Canty or his friends. So both the king's and Tom's story ends with a happy ending. Tom goes to his family with good stories. So that is the end of the story and we come to the final chapter of the novel, that is conclusion, justice and retribution. Hendon is received what he is due. He was given most of his stolen things, and he was fortunate enough to marry Lady Edith. For Hugh Hendon, he was banished from the country and he died in exile. So King keeps on working to recorrect things what he saw during his voyage of learning. So Yokel has got his past life and his property. He took care of the daughter of two Baptist women who gave care and love when he was in trouble in the prison. He could rescue most of the victims who were punished by unjust punishments at the prison. And he does not forget to give the due respect and honor to the judge who was merciful and gave him a light punishment. Miles Hendon had the privilege to serve under several kings, and his descendants also had the same position beside the king for a long period of time. However, the king Edward didn't have a son to inherit his crown after him. King's reign was short, but it was a merciful and peaceful period of time. During his lifetime, he lifted many unjust laws and governed the country with soft hands. So after his peaceful reign is over, Queen Mary and Lady Jane Grey, and after that Lady Elizabeth took over the crown. However, the Lady Mary and Lady Jane Grey governed the country only for a short period of time. Queen Elizabeth took over the country and she ruled England for a long period of time, and he was loved and she was a beloved Queen of England. If we speak about Tom Kent, he lived until his old age and he was honored and he was given the due respect as a king till he died. So story ends with a very fair ending. So at the end of the novel, I would like to keep a small note on my own feeling about the novel. Every epic ends with the feeling of nostalgic feeling. It reminds you that you end up everything losing. That's the reality and that's the beauty of life. You fight till the end and lose at the end. The feeling of loss is the only thing that prevails in the world. Better you understand it. You should know you are to lose. Knowing this make you a winner. Hope this long analysis would help you to unravel certain things and read the novel better. But however, you should read the novel by yourself first to get the complete idea of this analysis. So as a last thought, I should say this is not the best analysis. This is only my ideas found in the novel. So there are many good analysis on the internet and you better watch them, watch those videos and enrich your ideas about this wonderful novel. So that's the end of this long video series. I hope you will be benefited by this long video series. So thank you for watching and have a wonderful time.